Well, welcome to the Daily Agenda. We're back at the usual location again tonight because the storms have passed. It's only the third time we've been rained off since February this year, so it's not bad going, is it? It has been exceptionally dry. Before we begin tonight's podcast, I'd just like to say that the mega Make England Germanic Great Again merchandise that you wanted is now available in the shop. And you can see that on my profile, so help yourselves to whatever merchandise you want. And we know the Tommy crowd, the centre-right lot, hate it, and that's all the reason why we should wear it. The quality of the stickers, in fact, is absolutely brilliant. Top quality, really top quality stickers. And whilst they cost $2.99 each, these are not designed to be plastered all over lampposts, obviously. These are top quality stickers, real quality stickers. They're not the mass-produced drivel that most people use. So yeah, absolutely, I've given you something of quality there, so go and use it. Go and make England Germanic great again. Yes, or make England Germanic again, which is the whole purpose of the mega merchandise. The mega merchandise, absolutely, double alliteration, love it. Anyway, so tonight's podcast is how to dismantle the left. First of all, I think we need to have an understanding of what the left really is all about. And in truth, none of these far left groups, as we've said before, contest elections. They've never contested any election. They have no electoral purpose whatsoever. They exist only to incite confrontation and trouble. And of course, they work as a tandem act with Pinky and Perky. I mean, bent coppers. So when I say Pinky and Perky, you know what I'm talking about, bent coppers. So yeah, they work as a tandem act with bent coppers, Pinky and Perky. And in fact, they're not all pinky and perky these days. They're other colours as well. But, you know, they do come in all colours, apparently, these pinkies and perkies. But joking aside, or am I joking? I don't think I am, really, to tell you the truth. Yeah, they work as a tandem act with Pinky and Perky and also the mainstream media. So whenever there is an incident between nationalists and the left, the media report it as nationalists go on the rampage, which is usually false in my experience, because, you know, drawing on my experience in the British National Party, I remember one particularly amusing incident at Codner in Derbyshire. I was not far from there today, in actual fact, and it actually brought it back to me and sparked off the subject matter of tonight's podcast. And we were delivering their BNP leaflets, anti-immigration leaflets, obviously. We didn't just have anti-immigration leaflets, we were doing anti-immigration leaflets that particular night. It was summer's evening, and this woman in her late 30s came running down, or trying to run down the street, fat slob. I say, come here, you fascist. Come here, you fascist, all right, yeah. I mean, we were really scared. We stood there laughing. Oh, seriously, it was hilarious. Come here, you fascist, she said with her flip-flops on. And ski pants with bulges in all the wrong places, and a white top, I remember, and glasses, and curly dark blonde hair. I never forget her. Oh, she was hilarious. And she said, I want you to take this letter back. Take this leaflet back. Take this leaflet back. I said, why is that? Don't you want it? Being sarcastic, obviously. I don't want it. No, absolutely not. You're a fascist. I said, well, I'm not a fascist, but I'm not going to attempt to reason, I said, with a left-wing fanatic like you. And she said, I'll have you know, I'm going to phone the police on you. I said, well, phone them then. Phone them. Phone the police. I don't give a damn. And so she said, read what I put on this leaflet. You read what I... On the bottom, she'd written, fascists are not welcome here, but she'd misspelled fascists, obviously. She'd missed the S out. It was fascists. Fascists not welcome here. Fascists not welcome here. Fuck me, honestly. Oh dear, we all had a little chuckle at that one. And so a couple of streets away, Pinky and Perky turned up on his own. Pinky didn't have Perky with him. It was just Pinky without Perky. and wanted our names and addresses. And I asked the actual leader on the ground, the elections officer, I said, I don't have to give you any details of any description. We're carrying out our rights under the Representation of the People Act. I don't have to give you any information of any description. A criminal offence has not been committed. I said, you have to suspect that a criminal offence has been committed or is about to be committed before you can apprehend us in any way, shape or form. Is that what you suspect? No, he said, we just received a complaint about your leafleting. I said, well, we're leafleting. I said, because elections are coming up. I said, and that's usually what political parties do, and we are a political party, i.e. the British National Party. And you're not getting any names and addresses from us. And yes, he got back in his pinky and perky car and drove off without any names and addresses. And it was odd because I think about a week later we were in Shipley in Derbyshire, which is not too far from Codno. It wasn't the same Pinky, it was Perky this time. He turned up, same routine. Far left mongs made a complaint. These fascists are out on the estate, leafleting, you know, in a democracy. It's so shocking, isn't it? You know, that somebody would actually want to have the temerity to exercise their democratic rights. You see, that's the point I'm making. The left have absolutely no concept of democracy and freedom of expression and individual liberty, because they are quite simply just the collective. That's what communism is all about. And there can be no one who bucks the trend, no one who stands out from the crowd at all. There can be no difference, no individuality. There must only be robotic morons brainwashed by this Chosenite poison. We all know what I'm talking about with the Chosenites, don't we? That's right. And yeah, so this particular Perky also wanted names and addresses. I gave him the same spiel, same routine, and he was umming and ahhing. And he was a big lad as well, actually, and he thought he was quite useful and could intimidate us. But I just stood there and fronted him right next to his car. And back in those days, I didn't tolerate any shit from anyone at all. And I'd already put quite a few lefties well and truly in their place by them. The hard way. And yeah, he wasn't getting any names and addresses either, and he didn't get any names and addresses, and I sent him packing with a flea in his ear. But yet again, wherever we went, we had the same routine. At practically every leafleting session, we'd have Pinky and Perky coming up saying, we've received a complaint from our far left friends, basically is what they should have said. We've received a complaint from our fellow communists, and we want your names and addresses. Well, you're not getting any names and addresses, Pinky or Perky, so fuck off, basically. I wasn't as rude as that, but that's pretty much the way it was. And I never once yielded to their intimidation, never once gave them a name and address, not once, anywhere, ever. Even on demonstrations, they never got anything from me at all. And you want to talk about surveillance and what happened in London on Saturday with the Palantir facial recognition software. Well, I would hardly think the Metropolitan Police need me to be on such a demonstration, not that I'd be anywhere near those mongs anyway. I'm talking about the centre-right, that is, not the police mongs. They're a different type of mong. And yes, you can see I have a very high opinion of the British people today, can't you? Yes, I do. You're right. Yeah, it's about as low as it can be. It's right down there in the gutter. It's right down there in the gutter. Through 35 years of political activism, that's why it's down there in the gutter, of dealing with this nation of mongs. They're not all mongs, but the majority of them are brain dead. Mongs, quite frankly, lemmings, for want of a better description. And so, yeah, absolutely, everywhere we went, that was the case. And I mean, the Metropolitan Police must have photographed my face more times than I can remember, particularly on Brick Lane in Bethnal Green, Tower Hamlets, because they always had their video surveillance and photographers up on the rooftops snapping us all. And so, you know, at the end of the day, why would I want to go and give them even more material? That's something I did when I was young because I didn't know better, okay? Now I do know better, and I've known better for a very, very long time. I've known better since April 1993 on the anti-IRA demonstration, which went tits up completely because Tyndall bottled it and lost his nerve. A fact which I detail quite well in my book, The Fanatics, The Rise and Fall of the British National Party. You know, it was disgraceful what happened that day. And since then, in truth, I've never attended a right-wing demonstration since, and I don't intend to either. Absolutely not. They achieve absolutely bugger all. But what does achieve something is grassroots campaigning, knocking on doors, leafleting people. Don't just stick the leaflet through the door. Knock on the door and speak to the residents to canvass their opinions and to try and win them over. Just sticking a leaflet through the door is not good enough. It just doesn't cut it. It won't do it. You'll get a return of about 0.1%, which is what all political parties get. You actually need to interact with the people you're trying to recruit, you're trying to win over to vote for you. And so wherever you try to do that, of course, you'll get the left making their little calls to Pinky and Perky. Although Pinky and Perky don't come out anymore with just one of them, they'll come out with a mob, because they truly have become the Stasi these days. Back in those days, they were just trying to become the Stasi. That's right, they were in training to become the Stasi. Now they have become the Stasi completely. And frankly, I've probably known half a dozen peaceful activities in the British National Party where there was no trouble whatsoever from the far left of any description, and Pinky and Perky working with them in tandem. Every other time there was trouble of some description. You know, just attempting to sell leaflets one day in Chesterfield, and this is covered in Nick Lowell's book, Codename Arthur. His fairy tale about an agent inside the British National Party. Well, actually, it just wasn't one. It's a composite figure of many grasses and snitches and plants they had inside the BNP. So don't get carried away thinking there was some sort of great undercover operator called Arthur, alias Arthur. It wasn't. But anyway, Nick Lowell actually admits sending his Red Action chums, although he doesn't call them Red Action, but I know who they were. I know who they were because I knocked one of them out. And the reason why I knocked him out is because we were in Chesterfield town centre, you know, the town of the Crooked Spire. Our friend Shane, subscriber, will know that. He lives there. And I know some of the people who were on duty that day with me. And they were all sent back to the cars. It was just left myself and Calvin Richards. And we polished off Red Action together. Their forward echelon, their Pathfinder unit, totally and utterly flattened them. And the reason why I did it is because one of them was trying to latch on to me. I gave him the slip, came up on his rear, which is probably a big mistake actually, because he was homosexual, I think. And he ran off into a shop, and as he got into the shop, he went into his right pocket to pull out a bladed article. Bang! That was it. He was gone, straight through two clothes racks. Spinning, literally spinning round, out cold. Luckiest shot I've ever had, to tell you the truth. Totally intended, but completely lucky. And that was for what great crime? Was he pulling a knife on me to try and stab me? Oh, for selling a newspaper with the headline, Hang Child Murderers. The very first campaign against the grooming gangs. And so that's what you're dealing with the left. And there are other incidents as well, like I've explained before about the kidnap gang at Long Eaton in Derbyshire, which actually has a Nottinghamshire postcode, but it's actually in Derbyshire, and where they kidnapped the entire BNP leafleting team for a general election campaign and held them hostage in a house until Pinky and Perky came and negotiated their release. It's just astonishing, isn't it? They actually negotiated their release and let them get away with it. Truly, just let them get away with it. The following week, obviously, you know, I was enraged when I heard about it on the Wednesday evening, and we were going back there on the Saturday, so I went in there and totally and utterly destroyed their leader. He got Graham Tasker and threw him all around the street like a rag doll. He's only a small guy, about 5 feet, 5'1", skinny, nothing to him at all, and just he was just a big fat bully, and he was a lot bigger than me, you know, and I can remember that day vividly. I can even remember what he was wearing and what I was wearing, and I absolutely pasted him into the middle of next week. Literally, never pasted anyone like it before in my life. And he got exactly what he deserved, and the reason why is because he was a big fat bully who had the previous week led a kidnap gang to commit a serious criminal offence with the full consent of Pinky and Perky. We're talking about corrupt Derbyshire police, that is here, okay? And then the following week he came out and committed an aggravated assault on one of my activists, Graham Tasker, and when I came round the corner to see what was going on, he tried to do the same to me and got pasted all over the street. And this is what you have to expect when dealing with the left. The left are not here to contest elections. They're not trying to win people over. They're simply trying to destroy democracy. And this happened all over the country, in truth. All over the country, vile specimens. At Newark in Nottinghamshire, one of our candidates was standing there. I'm sure Kev Bryan, who watches the channel, knows I'm talking about, Andy. He was the candidate there, and he was just a normal working chap. And the Reds went and put leaflets out all over Newark, accusing him of being a convicted paedophile. It's funny, because that's exactly the way Tommy Robinson and Glenn Saffer and all of his scum work. They work in exactly the same way as the left. They make gaslighting, false allegations, false and misleading allegations against people, and then they end up getting a damn good hiding as a result of it. And that's what happened to the Reds after what they did to Andy. You know, we put a dozen of them in hospital. And I'm being totally open and frank with you about it. I don't care. There's nothing anybody can do about it. Not one thing. Not a thing. I promise you. That's right. We put over a dozen of them in hospital one Saturday afternoon, broad daylight. No CCTV in those days. Absolutely left them all out cold. Because there was scum inciting the population to violence against our activists, and this is exactly what Glenn Saffer's been doing down there in his little Norwich hidey-hole. Not that he must think for 1 minute that we don't know where he is, because we can reach out and get Mr. Saffer whenever we want to. And why wouldn't we want to, given the fact that he's been orchestrating violence against us just like the far left? Because there really is no difference at all between Tommy Robinson's organised criminal gang and the far left. In fact, there are more non-whites in Tommy Robinson's criminal gang than there is in the left. You think I'm joking? Well, just look at Tommy's own words. By this time, I've got more non-white friends than white, innit, bruv? You know what I mean, Gavner? Now give me some more free money for sniff, innit? This is the point I'm making. The centre right, or what the Lotus Eaters have called Tommy Robinson and Milk Toast Sivnat, is really the ideological centre left. They behave in exactly the same way. And so how do we dismantle the left? Well, first of all, we have to build ourselves into a formidable unit again, like the British National Party was in 2009. And can that be done? It most definitely can be done. But look, I'll make something perfectly clear to you. I was speaking to a nationalist last night about the need for unity between nationalist groups, and I don't think he got it at all, really, to say the truth. He kept waffling on about what they wanted to do as opposed to what I was talking about, which was trying to unify everyone under an umbrella organisation. And the problem with the Zoomers is that, in truth, most of them are trapped in the hinterland between the centre-right and nationalism, and they don't even know where they are, where they stand. They're so uncertain, they're so desperate, and in fact, one so-called nationalist said to me on Sunday on this channel, well, where else have we got to go, talking about the cocaine festival in London, in which over 200,000 people fed the immigrant economy and got their monikers plastered all over Palantir. Very clever. That's why I call them monks. And because they deserve it, quite frankly, in my opinion. And so, yes, he said, where else have we got? We've got nowhere else to go. You see, this is the despondency. You can't try and talk sense to these people. Even when you offer them a creditable alternative, they turn up at these cocaine festivals instead and cry, oh, we've got nowhere else to go, innit, bruv? You know what I mean, governor? It's pathetic. Truly it is pathetic. But in truth, you know, we're never going to be able to dismantle the left, and the centre-right will never never dismantle the left because they have no interest in dismantling the left. They don't even know how to do it. They don't even know how to do it, I absolutely guarantee you. So there's no point talking about that with them. You know, all they want to do is engage in dialogue and discourse, but the left does not want any form of dialogue and discourse. And so you may well have grand and great ideas, probably some grandiose schemes of how to dismantle the left, but I can tell you for a fact, let's be pragmatic about it, you know, there will be no dismantling of the left until nationalists have built a mighty force like the British National Party was in 2009. And that also at the same time displaces the real enemy, the centre-right, because the centre-right is behaving exactly like the far left, using the same lexicon as the far left and the same tactics and strategy, smear campaigns, orchestration and incitement to violence. And then of course they go running to Pinky and Perky like they did with me, tried to frame me, didn't they? They tried to frame me because at the end of the day, these people are scum. Just like Pinky and Perky, most of them are scum as well. And when I say scum, I mean, I don't just talking about something that you scraped off your shoe in the street. I'm talking about somebody who would willingly lie about you, fabricate allegations and concoct evidence to try and get you sent to prison, not even just for political reasons, but out of sheer malice. That is what I call scum. Scum. And scum is what the vast majority of coppers are in this country. That's why I call them Pinky and Perky. I don't give a shit what any of them think. Not interested, they don't bother me. Prison has not disincentivized me. Criminal behaviour orders have not disincentivized me. I'm still speaking the truth. And there's a hell of a lot more truth coming, believe me. When I built this channel up to 10 times what it is right now, and I guarantee you, there'll be a whole payload of police corruption going into the public domain. You can be absolutely certain of it. But slowly, catchy monkey it is first. Okay? And that's what I'm talking about with scum. And that's what the centre-right are. And that's what the left are. And they all use exactly the same tactics. And don't think it's just them. Oh no, on the contrary, absolutely not. There are scum, lots of scum, in so-called nationalism. But there needs to be a proper definition there, because what I'm actually talking about is ultra-nationalism, neo-Nazis. And there you are spoilt for choice where it comes to vile, low-life scum, amoral trash, quite frankly. Eddie Stampton's a notable example of it. He thinks I've been ignoring him for the last week. Well, I have been ignoring his threatening and abusive emails, because let's face it, I mean, what is a sad, pathetic old man like Eddie Stampton going to do? I mean, quite frankly, I mean, it's laughable that a man like that could actually send me threats. Truly, you know, absolutely laughable. Because the thing is, with Stampton, I would literally break him in half. Break him in half, you know, I mean... And this is the point I'm making. And you wonder why nationalism is not succeeding. It's not succeeding because of scum like Eddie Stampton. It's not succeeding because of those scum who are forever causing disruptive action operations, lying, smearing, cheating, knifing people in the back. And this is the point I was trying to make last night with the nationalist I spoke to, is that all of these people, the bad actors, we know to be bad actors, have got to be put on a list and denied access to any form of real, genuine, reasonable nationalist party. We cannot continue to have these scum in our ranks. And it's the same with the centre-right and the left. Obviously, the left will only send infiltrators, and probably the centre-right will as well. But truly, we have to have a list, and I've got a list. I've got a very long list of scum, for want of a better description, who must never be allowed anywhere near a nationalist political party, and most of them are neo-Nazis. In fact, any nationalist political party that wants to succeed must disbar all neo-Nazis, and that means anyone involved in any neo-Nazi organisation, from Blood and Honour to the British Movement to National Action, anything, even PA, quite frankly. I mean, I don't want anybody from PA. I don't want to work with anybody of those Hitler and Mosley simps, because they're just bad news. And Alex Yerbury, the caricature waxwork Adolf Hitler type, I mean, look, at the end of the day, you keep talking about how do we dismantle the left as though it's within your reach, although it's within our grasp. Well, it could be within our grasp. It could be within our reach, actually, quite easily. But first of all, we have to jettison the trash. We have to throw all the flotsam overboard so it can swim with the jetsam on top of the sea, and our ship can sail forward to a brighter future, as it were. And there is no other way. And we cannot continue to make all the mistakes that we've made in the past. I mean, I've said this countless times in the British National Party. We can't have this guy, his British movement. We can't have this guy, his blood and honour. But Tyndall, Edmonds, and even Griffin, don't just blame Edmonds and Tyndall. No, Griffin was just as bad as both of them. In actual fact, he really was. And he entertained them, he took money from them, he kept them on side, behind the scenes, but they were there, and including Combat 18 as well. You know, whereas the British National Party should have disenfranchised itself from all of these groups completely. But that's one of the reasons why I left the BNP in April 2002, because it was still cuddling up to neo-Nazis. And I can't work with neo-Nazis. I will not work with neo-Nazis. End of. That really is, period. It's just electoral suicide. And so, yes, we can dismantle the left. Most definitely. But not in the way that things are right now. We're just dismantling ourselves. And you have to be realistic and honest about that. And I am being honest about it. Because honesty counts. And nothing else is going to solve this problem other than brutal honesty. So, if people don't like what I have to say, no problem. And you might ask, well, why is Eddie Stampton upset? Oh, well, because he's very angry about the two people I exposed at BNP head office in 1993, November 1993, giving us the runaround game, and he wants me to change the story, or else. Well, come and try it, Stampton. Come and try it. This is why I say to the centre right and the left as well, whoever sends me threat, come and fucking try it. You haven't got the balls, any of you. You're all shit talkers, okay? So I'm going to carry on saying it, and I will not change the story. There will not be a new narrative that contradicts the previous narrative. There will only be the one narrative, the narrative that I remember from factual experience. And so he wanted someone else slotted in instead of Jim White and Arthur Flinders, and it will not be happening. Will not be happening. In fact, when I spoke to Derek Beacon 3 weeks ago, he said, it wasn't just you and Don Black and Dean who got the runaround that day. They actually stopped a couple of dozen other BNP members from getting to the AGM. So why would two people who were supposed to be genuine BNP activists like Jim Wyatt and Arthur Flinders stop nearly 30 BNP members in different groups from getting to the AGM? I think it was out near Twickenham, wasn't it? Why would they be stopped? Of course, and that also stopped the BNP from getting a very large donation from the American Nationalists that Don Black was representing. So there you go. And I won't be changing any story. I don't change the story. I don't change the narrative. Gordon Jackson should have learned that after his torture session on the 20th of January 1990. I don't change the narrative. I told him straight to his face he was a crook, and I meant it. And he was a crook, and he was thieving, and he was robbing people's membership funds, and furnishing his home with leather sofas and computers, etc., and just living the high life off membership fees. And I was the only one who had the courage to actually tell him to his face. That's why I got the punishment beating that I did. But you can be absolutely certain that Eddie Stampton and his clowns are never going to be able to do anything about it, because, look, you know, I was 22 years old then. I was inexperienced. Quite frankly, now I'm a battle-hardened veteran. You know, you want to come here and start playing hard man, no problem. Because playing is all you'll be doing. But you won't be playing for long, I promise you that. And so let's make that perfectly clear, because I always like to be unequivocally clear with scum about the consequences of their scummy, trashy, low-life actions. There are consequences. There will always be consequences when you're fucking with me, okay? And because, in truth, I am trying to clean up nationalism, because this is the very last chance saloon for nationalism. And I also tell you this as well, whether you like it or not, and the centre-right mongs might not agree with it, and who cares, because I don't give a toss what happens to any of them, not one of them, okay? It's also the last chance saloon for the centre-right, because if this goes wrong, what's being orchestrated right now, the fight back, as it were, the resurrection of England, so to speak, it's over. It's over. And then it's primary balkanisation. And in terms of there being any fighting spirit worth talking about, well, we saw on Saturday that, you know, the centre-right is just full of shit-talking boys. Shit-talking boys. And this is the point I'm making. We have one last chance, one very last chance to get our act together, to put a new organisation into the field. And one thing I did say last night to the person I was talking to, I won't name, he's been on the channel, and I said to him, look, my idea originally, because I believe the British Democrats has the best name, was for Nationalists to join the British Democrats en masse. Just simply flood the organisation with new membership applications, and then remove Jim Lethwaite as leader and his cronies, because that is the problem with the British Democrats. It's led by somebody who is just completely incompetent, who is not a leader. And as I've said before, that Christian Story Hour with his friend on the settee, come on, you need to get a grip. I mean, he's nowhere near as extreme as Nick Tenconi, but it just does not work. Nobody wants it. Nobody's interested. Okay, nobody's interested. So, in truth, we could transform the British Democrats quite rapidly, but first of all, we have to get rid of the likes of Jim Lethwaite and company. And that can be done simply by swelling the ranks of that party so that we outnumber them so much we can topple them. Or we can form a new organisation. But we have to do something, and we have to do something very quickly, because we cannot allow the centre-right to continue dominating the political hemisphere of the collective right, so to speak, with impunity, and particularly plotting and orchestrating acts of violence against us. It's just not going to be tolerated. I'm not going to tolerate anyone plotting acts of violence against me. Glenn Saffer's living in a dream world. He's being on bail for incitement to racial hatred is the least of his worries after what he tried to plot and scheme against me. No, absolutely not. Know this, I'm a vengeful bastard. I am a vengeful bastard. Nobody on the face of this earth crosses me and gets away with it. I absolutely guarantee you. So I will wait my moment. I'm very patient, very, very patient when it comes to retribution. Okay? And the same applies to anyone else who thinks that they can do that type of thing to me and my beloved 90-year-old mother. I did warn the centre-right what would happen to them if they ever fucking tried this again. Remember Damo Brown, that gutless little southern cunt from Ashford, yeah? Remember him? Because, you know, the problem is the vast majority of these people who send me threats, yeah, particularly death threats, are southern cunts, okay? And you know the reason why? Is because they all think they're hard men. They all live in this, oh, I'm a gangster, little chippy cockney reality, innit, bruv? You know what I mean, Governor? And nowhere else in the country can do anything about it because everybody's afraid of us, innit, bruv? We're not afraid of you. We don't give a shit about you. And London is a disgusting foreign shithole. It is not the capital of England anymore. We do not regard it as being the capital of England. And that is another reason why no one should turn up in London, like they did on Saturday, over 200,000 of them, to feed an immigrant economy and plaster their stupid faces all over Palantir, whilst pretending to be cocky little gangsters, innit, Bravna Gav? Seriously, you know, I know some real blokes from the south, yeah? There's not many of them, I'll tell you that for a fact. There's not many of them left at all. No, no way. No, there's lots of shit talkers and plastic gangsters like the Danny Tomos of this world and the Eddie Stamptons, you know, another one who crawled out of London into his Essex shithole because he couldn't cope with it. Exactly. Whilst talking the big one and sending me nasty, horrible threats, which I've not responded to, but I can tell you this for a fact. Nobody sends me threats of that nature and gets away with it. Everything gets filed and it gets actioned at one time or another. So Mr. Stampton's on the list with Glenn Saffer. And this is the way in which we clean up nationalism. Because we cannot clean up nationalism in any other way other than clearing out all the shit, trash and rubbish, the asocial garbage. Quite frankly, And if you thought this was just going to be a list of anecdotes about the left, you're wrong, because dismantling the left depends entirely on our ability to build a concentric whole, a united organisation that can actually achieve something and go places and exceed what the British National Party did in 2009. And bear this in mind tonight. Let this be a dire warning to you. So the Lotus Eaters recently, half of them apparently, I mean Harry, I think he likes to think he's an ethno-nationalist. Dan Tubb occasionally uses ethno-nationalist phrases. Bo Dade, honestly, disgusting little man. But he occasionally uses ethno-nationalist phrases as well. And they've now adopted the position that their battering ram, their last hope, their great hope, the great white hope, it's not the beach whale, is it, Moby Dick? Well, I'm definitely not Captain Ahab, I can tell you that for a fact. And is Rupert Lowe and restore Britain. I mean, come on, restore Britain. How is Rupert Lowe going to restore Britain? How could he actually do it? And how would he dismantle the left? He won't dismantle the left, will he? He's got no interest in dismantling the left. Rupert Lowe is a centre-right Tory, a milquetoast sivnat, which is exactly what half of the Lotus Eaters have just accused Tommy Robinson of being, which is, in truth, what Tommy is, but he, really, ideologically, is a centre-left sivnat. That's what Tommy is. He's in love with immigrants, isn't it, Gavin Brav? He's another one who thinks he's a fucking old man, gangster with his fake London accent. You know, the whole South is full of these people. South is full of them, I absolutely guarantee you. All the way from Hampshire right through to Essex. Yeah, it's full of these little plastic gangster hard men, innit, Bravna? Yeah? But the real hard men, the real southern hard men, and I know a lot of them, don't behave like it at all. They don't even talk like it, okay? You know, and I'm absolutely sick and tired of dealing with plastic gangsters, innit, Bravna Gav? Got me, innit, fam? Roadmen. Sick and tired of dealing with roadmen, because that's what these people are. We've got a country infested with roadmen. Trash, cannon fodder, quite frankly. That's what they are, trash, cannon fodder, roadmen. Yeah, who think they're something that they're not. And these people are no use to anyone. We can't build an organisation with them at all. It's just impossible to do it. You know, I said to someone on Sunday when they were talking about the Robinson grifting fest, I said, just imagine if you'd have had 230,000 people out on the streets that day, delivering leaflets, knocking on doors and trying to win people over to the remigration cause, okay? They could have recruited 1 million to 1.5 million, 2 million people. Instead, what we had was a grift fest with Tommy on stage, coked off his tits again, as usual, with all the other scum surrounding him, pretending to be patriots in it. Yeah, that's all it is. It's the Patriot Games. It's the book I just released last week, isn't it? The Patriot Games. That's all it is. It's a game, pretending to be patriots, and it's all one big game. But imagine what could have been achieved if you'd have had 230,000 activists on the streets, proactively campaigning to change this country for the better, and winning over more people. 5 times that number, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times that number. Just imagine what difference we would be making right now. Instead, they pursue this path of the aggrandizement of little Tommy Robinson's ego and his coke fests. Because that's all it was. I mean, the coke dealers in London must have made an absolute fortune, quite frankly. There's no doubt about it. Because I know for a fact just how many of those trash were on cocaine. Okay, and we even saw Tommy ordering more coke. And the scene where he's on stage totally and utterly off his rocker on cocaine. By that time, he'd had at least 2 or 3 lines of cocaine, and he inflated the figure from 1 million attending to 3 million. You know, I'm surprised it wasn't 6 million. His paymasters would love that one, wouldn't they? 6 million, that old routine. And so that's the point that I'm making. We cannot build a credible, professional organisation with the trash, okay? And I know a lot of you are going to be upset by what I've said tonight, and that's fair enough, I don't care. Be upset. Be upset all you want, because until we jettison the trash and start doing things professionally, and we do it quickly, we're going nowhere. Absolutely nowhere at all. I mean, I've got activists out and about on the streets of this country, seriously, delivering remigration action leaflets. Alone. They're doing it alone. They've paid for those leaflets themselves, because Remigration Action doesn't have the money to pay for hundreds of thousands of leaflets to give to activists free. They've paid for those leaflets themselves. That's how committed and erstwhile they are, and I admire and respect them. They're actually doing something productive. They're not. They're trying to turn around the general public. They're not going to a rally in London to feed the immigrant economy and give Palantir wonderful gifts and feed the cocaine factory. I mean, the Colombians must be delighted. There must have been an extra 1 or 2 shipments over from Colombia just for that Mong Fest on Saturday. Do you get the point that I'm making? You keep saying to me, oh, why do you use these harsh phrases against them? Well, because it's a cruel world, is it not? It's a cruel world, and I've had a very hard, harsh life. How about that? And I'm not looking for sympathy, but I'm not going to milquetoast anyone. Okay? It's a harsh life. It's a harsh world. And if you can't compute that fact and you can't deal with it, then you don't really need to be in this world. You need to be in a comic book world. Probably sniffing coke with Tommy Robinson or drinking magic mushroom tea, whatever floats your boat, quite frankly. Go and worship a table leg if that turns you on. But I won't be doing any of those things. What I will be doing is pragmatic nationalism. I will be trying to put nationalists back together into a concentric organisation that is serious and professional and committed to pragmatic campaigning. I won't be organising any demonstrations or protests outside migrant hotels because they're just public relations stunts used by clickbait clowns to rake money off social media and incite even more conflict that the centre-right can never deal with because they're all roadmen. And I'm not interested in dealing with roadmen. Okay? I don't mind working with gangsters. Real gangsters, that is. I know lots of them. Well, I would, wouldn't I? Of course. I know the difference between a roadman and a gangster. Okay? And I don't mind working with them at all, in actual fact, because most of them are thoroughly nationalistic, in my experience. And providing not actually doing something of a criminal nature, I don't really care. You know, I don't really care. But in truth, we have to put an organisation together that is credible, serious, professional, and has pragmatic campaigning policies, both online and also in person, on the streets, not using demonstrations, not attracting the left out to have one of their little rant fests like Suter, stand up to racism with Tommy Robinson and Glenn Saffer and all the other centre-right mongs. How about that one? So how do we dismantle the left? Well, that's how we dismantle them. That's how we dismantle them. Because let's face it, in reality, there is no other way to dismantle the left. None of these aspirations that you have are ever going to come to fruition unless you do something meaningful, serious, productive to make it happen. And I'm not seeing anything really of a serious nature going on. I can see small pockets of seriousness, of real campaigning going on. All I'm seeing most of the time basically is just fools worshipping social media, talking up civil war. In it, bruv. A civil war they could never fight or win. Or revolution. It's an Xbox revolution, is it not? A fancy. Listening to Elon's Musk. Oh, please, come on, get a grip. No, what we're talking about is something real. What I want to achieve is something real, not something fantastical. I don't want us to live in a fairy tale world. I want us to live in the real world where you and I can live a much better existence through having triumphed politically. And if we don't triumph politically, then it's primary balkanisation, and that really will be the hardest way possible. I won't live to see the outcome of primary balkanisation because of my health, and most of you won't either. And it won't be because of your health, but because of what happens to you during primary balkanisation. And so we'll just have a look at South Africa today. That's primary balkanisation if we don't do something, if we don't succeed now. So what I'm saying is, I'm not trying to divide people. I'm saying we have to get rid of all the scum, the flotsam, the trash, and build a new organisation and all the bad actors have got to be kept out of it completely. Denied access, denied entry, not even be allowed, so much allowed on a leafleting session at all. Speaking of which, the British Democrats, yeah, they even allow Tony Lacombe, you know, oh, goodness me, with his rap sheet, his record. Derek Beacon was quite right. He said he should never have been in the party with his criminal record. It's absolutely right. He shouldn't have been. But that's also the fault of John Tyndall and Richard Edmonds, not mine. I didn't have the power to kick him out, otherwise I would have done. Absolutely right. And so would have the mass majority of people in the BNP, in truth. But that's the way it was, that's the way it went down, and that's what we need to learn from, is that we cannot have these Tony Lacombes and Eddie Stamptons and Nick Griffins and Simon Darbys and all the other oi polloi and trash that gather around them, quite frankly, infecting nationalism again. And there's another issue, well, before I close tonight, it's these Zoomers caught in the interland between the centre-right and nationalism. I don't think any of them are of any use to us in any way, shape or form, because they're so deeply ensconced in that hinterland, they don't know what they are. And because they don't know what they are, they can never be trusted. We cannot rely on them, and therefore we must really jettison them, because they're unreliable, they're untrustworthy. They don't know where they are. They don't even know what nationalism is. They have a vague concept of what nationalism is. I have a very clear idea of what nationalism is, because I joined the British National Party on the 20th of January 1990 when I was 22 years old and gave my entire life to it. So I have a very clear vision of what nationalism is, and I know where the BNP went wrong, and I know how things need to be put right. And the first and fundamental step to putting things right is to jettison all of the flotsam. Okay? It's flotsam or failure. Simple as that. Flotsam means failure. It really is that simple. Jettison the flotsam and it means success. And what's riding on this? Do you want the centre-right to win? Do you want the left to triumph? Because that's what will happen. That is what will happen. You have this one last chance. This is the last chance saloon. And I'll have to close now because it's getting dark here, and I don't think it'll be much good for you looking at somebody talking into a screen in the dark. So I hope that this podcast tonight has made some sense to you and makes a difference, because we're up against it, and this really is the 11th hour, to borrow Mr. Tyndall's phrase, for British nationalism. And if we don't get something done, and soon, it's all gone down the drain, and everything we've ever fought for has gone down the drain with it. And I'm not prepared to let that happen, and I hope you're not as well. Thank you for tuning in.